Welcome to the Source Studio podcast. My name is Priscilla and I am your host. And I'm on a mission to help luxurious interior designers reclaim their precious time and elevate their services to turn their interior design business into a 7-figure company. How? Keep listening. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today is a very special one. Our first guest, Melissa. Hi, Melissa. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited for this new episode, my first guest.
Congratulations on your first episode, and thank you for allowing me to be your guest.
Okay, so Melissa is the owner of Selah Interiors by Melissa Ann, correct?
Correct. Selah Interiors by Melissa Ann.
All right. Will you tell me a little bit about your business?
Well, my business is just starting. I am new and I'm hoping to officially be open spring of 2024.
That is really, really exciting. How are you getting ready for it?
So I have a space on my property and my husband is building me an office space, which is also going to be the new space for some home decor items as well. So my clients will be able to come in, speak about what they want, interior design, while also shopping for small accessories and home decor items and things like that.
That sounds really, really cool. And where are you located again?
So I am in Delta, Colorado, which is the Western Slope, and we call it Western Slope is the best slope in Colorado.
That is fun. I will have to go visit Colorado then to see the new office next year.
Definitely. I would love that.
Okay, so how do you decide to become an interior designer?
I've always loved all things interior design, old homes, architecture, history, things like that. I was that odd girl, little girl, walking around looking at homes and taking pictures of them. Well, everyone wanted to do all the fun stuff. That was what drew me in. So I decided, this was before, I think, COVID, to go back to school for interior design.
That's awesome. What school did you go to?
I went to Rocky Mountain School of Art and Design, Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, located in Colorado.
And how was it?
It was great. It was all online, but I had wonderful professors and classmates. So it was pretty good. I learned a lot.
I can definitely relate to that. I am doing my interior design program right now, and this whole year I'm doing online classes, and it can be very different to in-person classes for sure.
It's a little harder, but it's great.
Yeah, it is very fun. I really enjoyed it. What was like your favorite part about it?
I think my favorite part actually were the projects. Either working in groups or alone, individual, like alone projects. I think I enjoyed those the most.
Yeah, that makes sense. I really like projects that are like in group too. So we talk about how do you decide to become an interior designer, but when you start as an interior designer, how do you think about your dream life?
Well, for me personally, I think a space is so important because when you enter that space, you could either have a feeling of comfortability or it could either make you want to run. And I've been in spaces that I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here. But when you're in a space that you're like, I want to just spend so much time in here, now that's something that's a big deal to me. So even with my own home, I notice that when I get visitors or my children come over with their friends, everybody's so relaxed that they just turn into like lay on the couch and take naps. And I'm like, what's going on here? Everybody's napping. And that makes me proud to know that you can enter my home and it's so relaxing that you just like fall asleep.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. And they say that when people come to your house and they feel sleepy, it's because your house has really good vibes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I think that's an important thing when it comes to interior design. I think that's so important for me because I remember that feeling as a child, and that's the same feeling I want to give off to other people.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I also love to like plan around my apartment and try to make it very cozy for new people. But sometimes I tend to procrastinate a little bit on my own space. It's like I'm constantly thinking about other people's spaces or like my clients and those stuff. And then I just procrastinate so much with my own space. So I definitely need to get better at that.
Finding that balance can be a little bit challenging.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what do you actually do to make your dream life part of your interior design work? I know you told me a little bit about how you apply interior design to your own home, but how do you put together your interior design life as an interior designer and your dream life, the life that you're envisioning?
So I'm also a vintage lover, and that's something that will never go away, regardless of what trends are out there. I'm just always going to love vintage items and want to incorporate them in design. So I think that's something that if people are coming to me and want me to work for them, that's going to be something that attracts them to me. So right now I'm trying to find the balance of like putting my vintage plus new items together, modern and vintage. And that's the branding that I want to run with. So that's why I'm making the little shop plus my office. Like that's my dream to have that in there.
I really love that. That is so unique. And it's like, it is also putting together two parts that not many people actually put together.
Yeah. So before I was like this interior designer, I was also, and I still am, a film photographer. So I've always been into things that are creative. And that was going to be my film photography studio when my husband started building it. But then I was like, I don't think I want to do a film photography studio anymore. What can I do? And I'm just thinking. And I'm like, oh, I can have my office in there and a little shopping for my clients. Like they can leave with something like a nice bag or pillows or a throw blanket and get excited about what's next when it comes to their design and working on their project. That was just my bright idea, and I'm going to bring it to life.
That is so beautiful. I really love that. How do you plan exactly to bring that to life? So like that kind of brings me to my next question that might sound a little bit similar to the question before, but how do you balance what you love, what actually works like in real life as an interior designer? So you're saying you're going to fusion these two things, but what is your actual plan to bring that to life?
There are a few things that I have to do beforehand. That's why I'm saying like spring 2024. I am going to step out of the box. I've been hiding for years. I have 5 children, so that's kept me busy. I have 4 grandchildren and the husband and the house. And I've been hiding when it comes to meeting new people. And that's something that I'm going to change now that my little one's in kindergarten. I'm like, I'm ready to go out and social network. I'm ready to meet people. I'm ready to attend events. I'm ready to speak big about myself and my plans and my ideas.
For sure, as you should. You say you have 5 kids?
Yes, 5 children.
Oh my goodness, you're like a superhero.
Yeah, sometimes I don't feel like that, but thank you. 4 grandchildren, 4 chickens, and 1 cat.
That is amazing. Sometimes we underestimate ourselves and we don't realize how powerful we are. So I just want you to know you are like a superhero because having 5 kids is not an easy task that everyone can do. And I'm sure you're such a great mom and you're trying to handle all that and start a new business and a lot of other stuff. So give yourself a lot of credit for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I imagine that in the process of trying to bring this to life next spring, you are facing some challenges. I don't want to say problems because I will see it more as a challenge, right? Let's talk a little bit about that. What are the challenges you are facing in the process to bring this to life?
So I'm going to say, of course, handling all the paperwork and the legal stuff, that the boring part of it can be challenging. When you're starting a business, it's not cheap. So that's another thing, like trying to figure out where to budget money and what to put into it, as well as just building your confidence, believing in yourself. For a person like me, I grew up in a very negative environment. So I've been working on changing my thoughts for over like a year. That comes with a lot of changes. That comes with changing the people you hang around with, the people you listen to, or even just simple things like the shows that you've watched and where your energy and time has been spent on, things like that. Just trying to be more positive and have more confidence and know that dreaming bigger, you can do this, and don't let fear get the best of you. So those are my challenges.
That is so, so true. And I think I can also relate to that so much. It is really, really true that it is expensive, the baby stages of the business. Some people say like it costs you $0 to start a business. And yeah, that's like the foundations. But to actually start it, it does cost money. When you're already used to a certain system that you were born in and you grew with it, it is so hard to try to get out of it. And I can see what you're telling me because I went through the same and I still go through the same. I feel like it is something that I will have to work on my whole life. And definitely when you start a business, you also start realizing a lot of other stuff regarding your friends and your family and who is actually serving you in your life and making you good and supporting you too. And you start just realizing a lot about yourself, what you like and what you don't like about yourself and what you need to work on, what you want to change. So that definitely makes a lot of sense what you're telling me. And it is really, really beautiful that you are actually working so hard on it. So I will need a lot of tips from what you're doing.
Yeah, it just starts by even like your thoughts in the morning. And if you get a negative thought, replacing it with more positive and things like that. And I listen to a lot of podcasts now. I watch a lot of motivational YouTubes. I enjoy my garden. I go look at beautiful things. I do not watch the news anymore. I don't engage in anything like that. So it's changed my whole mind and the way I see the world and my thinking. And I see much clearer now. And my self-worth is higher than it's ever been. And so is my confidence. It's actually higher than it's ever been in my life. And I guess that comes with maybe age and just trials and tribulations and falling down and getting back up. And I've always been that kind of person that if I fail, I'm getting back up. If someone told me I can't do it, I'm going to do it. I've always been that kind of person, but my confidence wasn't really like that strong.
That's so beautiful. So you are very resilient. I really love that. And I did stop watching the news too. That used to make me feel like so anxious all the time. I'm a very anxious person. And that is something that I constantly try to work on. And all those negative stuff just make me feel so bad constantly that I did stop doing that too. I
protect our thoughts.
Yes. And very recently, I started trying to do some affirmations because I heard like some friends were telling me that I should try it because I was fighting against my own obstacles. Kind of like, I'm trying to think what's the right expression for this. So I do tend to put myself down very often. And very often I think that I am not worthy of something or like, I don't know, very random example, like I'm having a big client coming in and I sometimes unconsciously, I think that I'm not worthy of that. So these affirmations actually start to help me a lot. And yeah. And I really love what you're saying about doing stuff that make you feel like happy and fulfilled. I think I need to start doing more of that because sometimes, even though I always say you need to dedicate time for yourself, I tend to get very distracted and like buried in work all day until very late, until someone comes in the office, like my little home office. And they are like, are you still working? You need to like stop right now.
Yeah, you need to take a little break, a little mental break.
Yeah, exactly. So I really love everything that you're saying. I really need to start applying that in my own life.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's helped me a lot.
Yeah. And this connects a little bit with what my next question was. My next question actually was, how did your personal style and beliefs became part of your interior design brand? But now that you told me all this, it kind of gives me a really good idea of your style, your beliefs, and your values, your personality too. So how do you plan to kind of like implement this in your brand?
I was just having this talk actually with my husband before. I want to stay true to who I am, no matter what. And I know that's hard with social media and TikTok and all the trends that come out like every single day. And I've even struggled with that. I'm like, oh, like all the same color items and things like that. But that's not me. So I have to stay true to what I love. And I think if I stay true to what I love, which are vintage items and modern items too, like mixing and matching dark and moody sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, okay, a little bit of light over here. If I stay true to that, I think the right clients will come to me because they'll have an appreciation for that, the same materials that I love and the same feeling that it gives off. So now I'm just trying to stay true to the things that I love.
Yeah, I was going to say and that's so important because even sometimes when we try to stay true to ourselves, we might end getting a little bit out of that to try to fit in what, I don't want to say society, but what the niche or the industry demands are. But then you end landing the wrong clients that don't appreciate you or your work or your efforts. And I don't know, it's just so important to actually stay true to yourself, and that would attract the right people to your life and your business too.
Right. And I think for me, it would be more like a personal relationship too, because if you're designing someone's space, maybe a bedroom or, a dining room or a living room, which is where we spend the most of our time. I, as a mom, spend a lot of my time in the kitchen. If we're designing that and we're not designing from our heart to their heart, then what is it worth to give them a space that they're not really connected to?
Yeah, that is so true. Do you ever apply this to another kind of project in the past? Not interior design, but you told me something about filmography at the beginning of this call.
Yeah, film photography, which I'm still a film photographer. I've been doing that for well over, probably from childhood till now. I have film cameras all over my house, and that's how I document my children and my grandchildren and life moments. And it's another way that's helped me to see spaces as well, how spaces react with people in them and things like that. So
I love that. Do you ever had to, or do you ever apply all this that we were talking about to filmography? Do you work with clients for that, or it was just only for yourself?
It was mostly for myself, but I did have clients, and there were clients that were either a match or they're not a match because my style was my style. And then there's the clients that weren't really into my style, and I would have to say, no, I'm not driving up to a mountain peak and taking a family picture there. I take different portraits. I don't know, studio photography as well. I have backdrops and things like that. And I want my subject to be the main subject and not what's all around. So yeah, I guess it applies to the same thing.
Yeah. And that's amazing because if you already work in that industry for a certain period of time, now you know exactly what to do, but you apply to a different industry. Even if they are not related, you know exactly what you're going to do. And that's amazing. That already puts you a step closer too.
I think so. I agree.
Yeah. How do you think that you keep learning about you and your life and what you want to do every day?
Like I said earlier, I'm always listening to podcasts. I used to be that girl years ago that was watching those reality shows. And eventually I got to the point of what is this doing for my future? And how is this helping me and grow into a better person? So I just started listening to podcasts and motivational speakers and reading books that are helping me gain success or follow my dreams, things like that, because I didn't have that growing up. We grew up in pretty much poverty and things like that. And when you grow up that way, you just don't dream really big. But I always wanted something bigger. I always knew that. And I got to the point where I was just I have to go after this, whether I have anxiety or fear or regardless, I just have to start leaving my comfort zone and going after something that makes me happy, that I have a passion for.
Yeah. And when was the exact moment when you realized that you needed to change your mindset?
So changing my mindset exactly, I was already in school. I guess I was in my second year of school. And this happened last year is when I decided I got rid of my popular Facebook that I used to get 300 comments under my posts all the time, people debating. I permanently deleted it. And I actually ended friendships and everything because, you outgrow them. And my life shifted. I was I'm just going to surround myself with people who are doing and going after their dreams as well. So I guess you can say last year is when that really happened.
That is really, really healthy to do. I think many of us have a really hard time letting go relationships that are not really doing us good. So I really admire your courage to let go of those relationships.
It's hard because you get comfortable and, you know people for a long time, but you're not growing anymore. And if you want to pursue a business or your passion, you have to be able to grow. You have to be able to be teachable and grow and go after things. And that was something I learned. And I'm like, okay, I got to do this now.
For sure. That is very, very smart. And it takes a lot of courage, again, as I mentioned. And again, this is another reason why you should be so proud of yourself and give yourself a lot of credit for everything you have gone through and everything you keep doing.
Thank you. That's the hard part, though. See, I'm still working on that part.
Well, but that's something that we all have to work probably for, like, on an everyday basis. It's not something that comes naturally, I think. It's something that we need to just little by little work on.
Yeah, because it feels weird. Like, oh, hey, I'm so courageous. It feels kind of weird, but we could talk ourselves up, I guess.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to new interior designers or aspiring interior designers who want to combine kind of like their dream life with their work?
I think they should go after it. Don't be scared. If you feel in your heart and your passion, if this is a seed that's planted inside of you, just go after it. Like, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You took the chance and you went after something that you desired.
That is so true. And if you do that, you won't be asking yourself, what if I did it? And how do you think that other interior designers, or when they are starting to be interior designers, can use their own dreams to make their designs special? So you are going to use your love for antique stuff and you are combining two very unique things in your business. So how do you think that other interior designers can do the same?
I think they can find something that they're truly passionate about, something that they recognize that they always go back to and stay true to it. Don't get all confused looking at social media. And I know people on social media, it looks like someone remodeled a whole room in 2 days. And like, you just really got to stay real to things, like be realistic. Things take time, and just take your time, even knowing what you truly love. Like, look back even at your childhood and just think, what did I always love back then? Like, what was I drawn to? Like, for me, I was always drawn to cottages. I'm originally from New Jersey, so we grew up with lots of gardens all over the place, very old homes, castles, things like that. So that's something that I love. Someone that grew up somewhere else might love something differently. They might like Spanish style interior design or arches and things like that. I think they should really take their time with it and just look at what makes their heart like just skip a beat. That's what I'm always like, oh, that made my heart skip a beat. So I love that. I gravitate towards it.
I love that. That is something that I actually didn't have into consideration when building my brand. Like, what did I love as a kid besides interior design, right? So yeah, I think that's such a great advice. I will even use it myself.
Yeah, go ahead. It's good. So inspired because I finally live in my dream home that I wanted since like a child. I've always wanted an old house with a porch swing. And I finally like got that. And I'm like, wow, this is something I dreamed of as a child. So you can still dream. I know people are like, oh, you can't dream once you become an adult. You can still make your dreams come true. You can.
Yes. And that is exactly the perfect time to make your dreams come true. So what do you think is your next step as an interior designer to work towards your dream life besides building and starting your interior design business next spring?
My next step is actually, once we're done with our interview, our lovely interview, we are going to put the wiring in my office / little shop. So getting that ready and making it really pretty inside. And it's going to have a story to tell. And that's something I'm happy about too, because my home is already a home that's well known in my city that I live in, because it's one of the oldest houses here and everybody loves it. So they're always like, oh, you live on that house on the hill. And I'm like, yeah. So I think once I get my clientele built up and they come, they're going to want to spend a little more time here. And spending time with people is how you get to know them, and you can speak to them on more of a friend level. And, you know, you gain that trust that you need between client and interior designer. That's really important too. So those are all my next steps.
That is so cool. I didn't know that your house was that well known. And that is such a cool fun fact. And I think it makes it even more unique to what you're trying to do. And it brings your personality even to a better level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel really blessed because, I was so stressed about this whole like branding because you know how they always talk about branding, branding, branding. And I'm like, I don't know how to brand and I don't know what that means. And then I'm just sitting like in my house and I'm like, wait a minute. Well, my house is old. Everybody loves my house. Like people stop and they're like, oh, are you going to sell your house? And I'm like, not anymore. I'm staying here. So my branding is going to be like my home, the little shop, my office, like that's my branding for me.
Yeah, I definitely really love that. So all this was so good. Do you have any last words for people who are trying to make their dream life happen while being interior designers?
This is going to sound corny, but just go after it. Like if this is something so deep in your heart, something you just think about all of the time, go after it.
Absolutely. Okay, so the phrase of the day is to go after it. I love it.
Yes, go after it.
I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for being part of this episode. It was so much fun. And I think you are such a wonderful person. And your story is so unique that I think your brand will stand out because of that.
Well, thank you for having me. And I'm really grateful that you took the time out to ask me all these lovely questions. And I love your content. So I appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that too. And well, for everyone listening, I hope I see you in our next episode too with a lot of good stuff. Thank you for listening to the Sur Studio podcast. We love to have in our community. Let's be friends on social media. You can find us on Instagram at surstudio.id or check out our website at surstudiointeriordesign.com. This was Priscilla from Sur Studio, and I look forward to have you on our next episode.